Plan B for the immigration provisions in the budget reconciliation. That's what we're going to discuss, the main issue. As you may already know, that the Senate parliamentarian has rejected the immigration provisions to be included in the budget reconciliation bill. We're going to discuss about travel ban, what are the updates in the travel ban, and what is expected in the coming months in the travel ban. The other thing is the burning question people will ask, well, my priority date in the EB2 is current right now. I already filed the adjustment of status in EB3. Do I need to file? Should I file an again adjustment of status? A lot of people are itching towards filing one more time, and we're going to address that issue. What are the pluses and minuses? Now, the big thing, Emily, is Plan B. I mean, things did not work out as we anticipated, definitely. Things did not work out as Democrats anticipated, though. So what are the things that in the Plan B that people can do, Emily?
Yeah, I think we need to think about multiple Plan Bs. There may be a Plan B with the Democrats and that they're trying to work with a parliamentarian on right now. But we need to have our own Plan B for employment-based immigrants, because if you've looked at the decision of the parliamentarian and the reason behind it, it doesn't mention any issues that she had with the employment-based provisions. So I think our Plan B is keep contacting your senator to ask them to include the employment-based provisions in the reconciliation bill, regardless of what the Democrats' own Plan B might be at this moment.
Emily, from the beginning, we expected things will not go through as smooth as, things will look like, okay, things will get passed in the Judiciary Committee in the House, we send it to the Senate just approves it, Senate just approves the whole thing. That doesn't happen in the democracy in United States, especially it's not a parliamentarian democracy as compared to England, Australia, or India. I mean, the things work differently. As a jurisprudence student, though, things work differently in the parliamentarian system as compared to the presidential system of government. We did expected things to go negotiation back and forth. Maybe at this stage, maybe at a later stage, we definitely did expected those things, though. So at this point of time, there will be a second proposal that will be going from the Senator Durbin's office and Senator Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader. There will be some negotiations, there will be some concessions given, there may be some increase in the filing fees, there may be some increase in the budgetary allocations for these things. Did you expected the smooth sailing, Emily, from the beginning, or you thought that there were hurdles that will be there?
There will definitely be hurdles, even if the parliamentarian agrees to the idea that these immigration changes can be made through the reconciliation process. We're at the very beginning stages of reconciliation. So, we do have the House version of the immigration portion. That's only been approved by the Judiciary Committee. It hasn't been approved by the entire House. They're going to put all of the different committee sections together, and there's going to go through an amendment process. On top of that, assuming it does pass through the parliamentarian, the Senate's going to do the same thing. They haven't even put their provisions in writing yet. We have to see what the Senate Judiciary Committee is going to do. They have to approve their version. Then the rest of the Senate committees have to put them together and approve a final version. That's going to go through an entire amendment process. Then we're going to end up with possibly two completely different bills that have to go through the conference process where it could be changed again. So this is a hurdle. It's not the only hurdle. So even if we get past this hurdle, we still have a long way to go, and it's not entirely unexpected.
What we have noticed is that the majority of the objections that we have seen from the parliamentarian are coming on the non-employment based side. They're coming that her objection is we are creating a new class of aliens who were not eligible to apply for the adjustment of status before. You're creating the essential and critical infrastructure workers that never existed to file a 485 application. And this is quite different than that of the 2005 parliamentarian, not parliamentarian, I'm sorry, when the budget bill was presented, and those immigration provisions were being incorporated into that. In those provisions, there were no new creation of the people who are not eligible for the adjustment of status, which in this they have created the new categories of the people, though. That was definitely the objections there are. Do you see any other major objections from the employment-based sector, though?
No, and it wasn't mentioned at all. And I think beyond the issue of creating new statuses is the biggest issue we have, and then really the lack of prior attempts to do this through reconciliation. No, the Senate, the Democrats provided several examples of when reconciliation was used before to make immigration changes. And each of those were very different situations where it wasn't just an immigration change. And in 2005, it was a bipartisan idea to include immigration in that reconciliation bill. So it wasn't necessary to get the parliamentarians' opinion on that prior to. So there's not really a track record of major immigration reforms happening through reconciliation. But I think her biggest issue is this creating new classes of people who were not currently eligible, whereas in employment-based, you're already eligible. We're not creating anything new. We're just creating additional money so that it can be included in the budget by these additional filing fees.
So the people, what you're speaking about is they were already in line, and you're just advancing the line by having them pay extra money. So that looks to be definitely a budgetary concerns that I'm not expecting much objections. If you go back to the history of the Senate proposed budget reconciliation proposal in 2005, they definitely included the employment-based, and there were no objections from any of the people at that time why we are including the immigration aspects in the budget in 2005. In 2005, though, they wanted to recapture the unused employment-based green cards. They wanted to allow the people to file the adjustment of status even if the priority date was not current. They also did not want to count the family members in the employment-based immigration provision, even though this particular last segment, what I said, not counting the family members in the employment-based, is not there currently in the House version. But in the 2005, though, they did include in the budgetary reconciliation prospect. So, in other words, it was historically allowed in 2005. So if the Senate proposes to include these provisions of the employment-based minus the essential workers, though, we have a better chance of getting these things going through. At least we have a chance of going through, and then they can always fight on the DACA bill, they can always fight on the other things. But these people, unused employment-based green cards, having allowed people to file the adjustment of status when the prior date is not current, not counting the family members, could go through easily if they would propose. I would suggest all of our members that our plan B should be to keep writing letters to include these provisions of not counting the family members, allowing people to file the adjustment of status even if the prior date is not current, recapture the unused employment-based green cards. Obviously, I mean, I'm okay with charging $5,000 extra per family. I'm okay charging $1,500 extra per person. I don't know the way that the House bill is it per person or per family? I'm unable to understand. But either way, I'm fine with charging them extra $5,000 if they would allow us to recapture and not count the family members, file the 485 application even if the prior date is not current. We do suggest people to keep writing letters because this is a crucial time, though. I mean, we have come to a stage where things are good in the House, and all we need is a 50 votes, which we do have in the Senate. If we can get it to the Senate table, we have a good chance of getting it approved. So this is a time where people need to act. I mean, yes, there are times that we have written many letters, things did not work out. Yes, there are times that that things came more closer and then went back. But this is how the democracy works. This is how the things will work. I mean, in the nature, how does it work out? I mean, you look into the birds. I mean, there are many children they may have. I mean, many chicks they have, and the chick that always is louder to ask food gets to get the food. What happens to the chick that doesn't keep shouting and keep asking for the food? That will be the last person mom will be feeding, though. I mean, these people, these congressmen are very similar. They don't understand the things unless we explain to them, unless we tell them. And that's the reason we at Reddy Neumann PC are at a unique situation where we are the people who will offer you to have you draft the letters. The provisions are there, the link is provided at there. The next two slides, you will have the QR code also that our office came up with, where you can use it to go to the letter and also go to the Senate, who your senator is, and then you can write the letters to them. Anything else?
Yeah, we definitely recommend continuing to write those letters, continuing to reach out to your friends and family members and ask them to do the same. This is about as close as we're going to get to having a potential change in employment-based immigration in a smooth way, an easier way, without having to deal with the Senate filibuster. So you really need to take advantage of this opportunity and don't give up on it. You know, all of these things take time, they take effort, we have to keep at it. You've probably seen the picture on LinkedIn of somebody who's digging a tunnel to get to the gold or to get to the diamond, and they give up right before they're 6 inches away from it, and they just give up. That's where you're at right now. So don't be the one that gives up 6 inches before you get to that finish line. Make sure you keep at it.
This is a marathon, guys, and I'm a marathon. I did 21 marathons, and every time I start in a marathon, believe me, 26 miles is a long, long distance, though. There is always at the back of a mind that's, should I quit? Should I quit? What the damn am I doing? Why am I running this 26 miles? Yes, definitely. It is at the back of my mind. It is always, it comes in a, yes, there are some distractors that will be there that will tell, oh, nothing will happen, nothing will happen. But you keep your focus on, because you have nothing else. You have not much to lose, though. I mean, writing letters, keeping up this campaign is definitely, you have spared your time to listen to this video. You have come all the way here. Obviously, it is worth for you to keep writing letters, have your friends write letters, to make sure everybody writes letters to the senators. Particularly right now, I want to target the senators, though. So we have given the QR code and the slide here, then you can use it to get there where the draft of the letter is being provided, and also the Senate, how to contact the senators list is also provided with the QR code. We have also provided the same thing at the bottom of this video, the link for you to do that thing. Emily, on the anything else on this? Emily, on the travel ban, there's a rumor now that says that in November, the administration may lift the travel ban for the people who have vaccinations.
Yeah, and that's very welcome news, as so many people have been caught dealing with this travel ban. People who are outside of the country in, since March of 2020, or who left prior to some of the later travel bans coming in and then getting stuck, and then dealing with this national interest exemption and the consulate taking forever to respond to those emails. Confusion about who qualifies, who doesn't qualify, who needs an NIE, who doesn't need an NIE. These seem to be very strong rumors that is likely to happen, that we will finally have those bans lifted, hopefully in November, to allow those that are vaccinated to travel without needing the NIE. Now, that's just one step in the process, because remember, the consulates still need to be able to issue the visas, and they are still not operating fully. So the travel ban being lifted for those that are vaccinated is very helpful for those that have an advanced parole or who have the visa stamp already. But those that have been waiting for visa interviews, those that have had 221Gs issued, all of those delays, I don't expect them to go away right away, because the consulates still are not going to be operating at 100%, and there's going to be quite a backlog.
This is for the people who have filed the adjustment of status in October of 2020, who have downgraded, and their priority date is current right now in EB2. Should they refile the entire 485 application, Emily? What do you suggest to your clients? What do you do if you were them?
Right, yeah. That's the difficult thing, is we can't recommend or can't tell you which way we know for sure is going to work and what you should do. I generally recommend that whenever you are switching from one category to another and trying to get USCIS to transfer your I-485 that's pending to a new I-140 or an earlier approved I-140 that was in existence, it is going to confuse them. And that confusion means slower processing time. So even if your EB2 date is current and you see EB2 moving faster, you may ultimately slow the process down just because the government is inefficient. They do not have a process to properly, easily, smoothly transition a 485 from one I-140 to another. It's a very unusual situation. It's not unusual for us, but for an individual officer who's working from home still, dealing with a pandemic, it's going to make things take longer. Your other option is to file a second 485, assuming that you've continued to maintain your non-immigrant status. That is, yes, it is an option, but that also puts you at the back of the line. So you're not only already waiting with everyone else who filed in October of 2020, now you're in line behind all of those people and in with everyone who's filing in October of 2021. So again, I don't see filing a year later than other people how you could get the green card faster, unless the I-140 delay is part of the process, which we know it is for many people. But anything out of the ordinary in the process is going to add additional delay. So by attempting to speed it up, you may actually slow it down.
Questions are coming with regards to the registry date. We know that a lot of speculation, the plan B right now for at least the good part of the Democrats are that to change the registry date and allow a lot more people to get the green card. Now let me explain what this registry date is. The registry date is that if you were residing in United States on January 1st of 1972 and you're continuously been residing from January 1st, 1972, you can just file the adjustment of status, which is AOS, also called as I-485 application. You don't need any employer to file the 485 application. Since the Democrats got beaten by the parliamentarian, what they're trying to do is that they were just trying to amend that to include, to have them pay some extra money and move that date. And the speculations are that that date may be moved until 2010, the date may be moved until 2015. There's a lot of speculation there on that, though. What will happen if this bill passes through, though, is that if you are present in this country on January 1st of whatever the date it may be, maybe it will be 2010, maybe it will be 2015, and you are continuously present in this country, then you may be allowed to file the 485 application, though. Now, does the continuation presence, should it be that you have to be continuously, can you leave the country and visit the outside the country? Let's say, for example, you went on a vacation to India. Can you still be eligible to file under this registry? We're not sure at this point of time. When they expand the definition from January 1st of 1972 to a different date, will they say that you have to be continuously, and it's not even leaving for one day outside the country? Would they say, or would they say that it's going to be only that you can have a brief departure, or that means that you have visited your home country or any other country, you may still be eligible? We have to wait and see how they are going to draft the bill. But at this point of time, as the employment-based immigration guys, though, we want you to write letters on the employment base, though. And a lot of people ask this question, oh, my senator is a Republican, should I still write it? Please ask. It doesn't matter. It may be Republican senator, it may be Democratic senator. You need to voice your opinion. I mean, people have, this is a democratic country, guys. I mean, to have a right to petition to Congress is something it is a very, very precious thing that you have. Not many of the dictatorial countries or some of the countries will have those things. So you have the right to petition to the Congress. You have the right to write to the congressman or the senator. Right now, our target is the senators more than the House representatives. So even if your senator is, people will say that, oh, my senator is a Democrat, he's going to support anyway, why should I write it? Oh, my senator is a Republican, he's not going to support anyway, why should I write it? No, don't have that attitude though. I mean, if you are a person who is asking for the things, don't look into what the person is, whether he's a senator, a Republican senator, or a Democratic senator. I want you, both of you guys, whether it's a Democratic senator or a Republican senator, you should request them. If it's a Democratic senator, you need to put them on attention that, hey, employment-based immigration is different than that of the regular immigration. Maybe they should, if is on a compromise where the Republicans may come on board in this one, or maybe not come in. If they can't get in, at least they can get in our employment-based provisions. So please ask the Democratic senators and the Republican senators also. You should ask them. Let them have your opinion. If they support, they don't support, that's a different issue. Maybe some people will change. They will have the count or how many people have written letters to them. They will listen to the stories of those people. I mean, these are democratically elected people. They understand. They have gone through these things. They will understand you much better than what you think. But you need to write them, and the draft of that letter we have provided. Please modify it that suits to your need when you write to your senator.
A question from YouTube from Ravi. What happens to the family-based spillover for employment-based from 2021? Well, as of today, the law of the land is that family-based that went unused in the last fiscal year does spill over to employment-based beginning October 1st, 2021.
What about the amendment that is there in the USCIS appropriation bill, Emily?
Right, so we have the Ming amendment, and we also have the possible reconciliation that would eliminate that spillover from happening. Again, those are amendments, those are in process, they have not passed, so we have to wait and see if they actually pass. As of right now, they have not. Now, with the reconciliation, the proposal for the House, although they would end the spillover from family to employment, they would allow those unused employment visas to also spill over to employment the following year. So at least the 80,000 that we're expecting to go unused this year would stay with employment, even if you're not able to get the additional green cards from the family-based from this past year.
Emily, I have one question for you. This comes from Harry, but I want to ask the question. People get confused. National interest exemption versus national interest waiver, though. What is the difference, and why not?
Yeah, good question. There's a lot of different acronyms and terminology in immigration that is easy to get mixed up. So the NIW is actually a waiver of the labor certification process for someone who is applying for the green card. It allows them to get into the EB2 category without needing an employer to file the labor certification. The national interest exemption is allowing someone to travel into the U.S. even though they're subject to the quarantine requirements, the 14-day quarantine based on visiting a country that's subject to a travel ban.
Question with regards to the vaccinations, though. When the travel ban is lifted, the vaccinations, which vaccinations will be approved, though? When I traveled recently, though, I mean, things are different in USA as compared to when I went to Canada, though. When I went to Canada, they said it's only COVID and Moderna that they're going to accept. They don't accept some of the other things. And that, at least that's the preliminary thing that I found out that. When it comes to USA, though, it seems that they're a little bit more flexible on accepting the vaccinations, though. However, we have to see when they lift the travel ban, what they're going to be including in it. Will they allow other than Covishield and whatever, there are two vaccinations. That the second one also something comes with COVID. Will they allow it, or will they only allow Moderna, Pfizer, what's the other company? Johnson & Johnson. Will they only have these three companies, or will they allow other companies I'm not sure yet at this point of time if they would allow others or they would allow. I'm hoping that they will still approve they will allow the Covishield and Covi, whatever the second one is. I'm expecting that, but we'll have to see. Just because the WHO approved, World Health Organization approved, doesn't put a burden on the United States that they have to be abiding with the WHO, that they will be accepting the WHO rulings though. Because USA is a republic country, it is an independent country, it's not governed by WHO, they may or may not accept the recommendations of the WHO when they are allowing people to come into United States. I for sure can tell that if it's Johnson & Johnson, if it's Moderna, and if it's Pfizer though, I can reasonably say that they definitely will allow. But if it's Covishield or Covimax, or the second one, I don't know at this point of time, but we'll update you when we get more information.
Prabhnath from Facebook wants to know, how would it be fair to allow people to skip the queue by paying $5,000? This is not a fix, it's just a bandage, isn't it? Yeah, I agree with you. It is just a bandage. It does not fix the underlying problem of the backlog, which number one is not enough green cards each year for employment-based, and counting the dependents, and also the 7% cap. This reconciliation bill does not eliminate that cap, and these provisions would only last for 10 years. So after those 10 years, we're going to end up back in the same position that we were in. But is it unfair to allow people to skip the line? They're not skipping the line, they're being taken out of the line completely. So that's the benefit of this bill compared to some of the other proposals in prior years, is how do you allow people to jump ahead, or how do you deal with the rest of the world, and is it going to harm them in order to help some people? This makes it across the board. Everybody who's got a priority date 2 years old qualifies to skip the line completely. You're not jumping ahead of anyone, you're just being taken out of the line so other people can move up in the line that were behind you. So for that reason, I do think that provision is fair. The downside of it is it does mainly only apply to India and China, which is not fair, and it is just a Band-Aid. It's not an ultimate fix.
Question from Pakala Prasad is that, can I have a service request for I-140 processing earlier on the humanitarian grounds because I want to prevent my daughter from aging out? Would it be a premium processing? Well, first is do the premium processing. That's no doubt about it. Now, with regards to expediting the request though, guys, I want you guys not to make any false, any wrong statements when you're requesting for expedited. Anything you're requesting them will be part of the record, and it will haunt you if there is any misstatements that have been given though. Now, when it comes to the daughter's aging out though, if the I-140 is pending, your daughter is not aging out. I mean, the amount of time that your I-140 is pending will be deducted from your daughter's age. So that definitely doesn't seem to be basis for me. Yes, locking the age of her is important for you because you never know when the priority dates are going to go back. So it is important, if the final action dates are current for you, to have the I-140 approval. If your daughter is under 21, definitely, or if her CSP age under 21, locking her age is absolutely important. The easiest thing would be to go for premium processing though. And if not, request not because of preventing the daughter aging out, but it's more like locking her age. The technical word is locking her age out.
Soon from YouTube says, USCIS is already backlogged. How can they clear this backlog before another flood? If the reconciliation bill were to pass and we can start filing in May of 2022, you're right. And the GAO report just came out to Congress on USCIS case processing times, and they basically said, you've done nothing to improve case processing times or reduce your backlog of pending cases. They've been talking about fixing the backlog of cases at USCIS for over a decade now, and it's not gotten any better. Processing times have gotten, I think, 85% worse. The number of cases pending has grown by 85% in the last decade, according to this report. And it's all because USCIS does not have the funding to be able to hire more staff. They come up with all these plans and how they're going to shift workloads around and be more efficient, but they can't implement any of it because they don't have the funding, and that's a couple of reasons.
I completely disagree with you, Emily.
Now, there are a lot of other reasons. There's this unnecessary RFEs, there's these forms that are twice as long as they need to be, extra interviews that weren't required before. There are plenty of things that have contributed to the current backlog, but there's been backlog all along, and that is one benefit of, at least in the House version of the reconciliation bill, was funding for USCIS to actually fix the backlog.
What does the report say, Emily? What is their plan, though? I know you said that the 85% increase in the past 1 decade, not that the number of green cards that they're granting has not gone up, though, but the amount of backlogs. So practically, what is their plan of decreasing, though?
Well, let me read it. One of the recommendations for USCIS was to develop a long-term workforce plan that includes strategies for hiring, developing, and retaining staff. DHS did not concur. They do not believe a long-term workforce plan is necessary and believe the current workforce planning activities meet its needs. USCIS has consistently faced workforce challenges related to attrition, difficulty in hiring to authorized staffing levels, and increases in pending caseloads, yet they see no need to have a long-term strategic plan.
This is where I feel that they can make changes, Emily. The medicals should be there forever once we file the medicine. You don't have to issue an RFE. Once we file the 485J supplement, that should be the part of the record. They should not keep asking those things again. They should not ask the biographic information all the time before they're giving the green card, though. These are all the waste of energy resources. Now, they keep changing the forms every month, one form. They change the 485J supplement. They change something like they say that they're trying to benefit us. We know, dummies, you're not benefiting us, okay? You know, we know, we are practitioners. We know, dummies, guys, you're not benefiting us. They just tell that, look, your client has to, once he gets the green card, he has to go to the Social Security office and need to file the Social Security. We are going to save him the time. No, you're not saving the time. Give him his damn green card. He will go and get it. These are the things. They create an extra form for it. The whole forms are changed. The whole structure has been changed just for a simple Social Security number. We will get it. My clients are not interested. It's okay. They will take extra time to go to Social Security office. Give them their damn green card. These are the things they don't understand. The realistic people, I don't know where they live. I don't know where they get the feedback. And they don't understand these things. And then they created the interview system. They created the 944. You're asking a 2-year-old kid a credit report. I mean, assets of a 2-year-old kid. Where am I going to get the assets for a 2-year-old kid? Does he remember what an asset is? Does he know? Do I need to list the toys? Do we need to list what kind of toys he have? Do we need to list him? I don't know. These are all the confusion they create in the form to give a green card for a 2-year-old kid. Can you exempt those things for those things? These are all the things they created, these hurdles in the past 4 or 5 years. That is delaying, though. I think so the best thing to do it is that put all the service center directors on there. Look, buddies, in 6 months you reduce the time. And if they don't reduce the time, Emily, all the administration need to do is that all service center directors are fired 6 months from that time. Guess what will happen? This is exactly what happened in Bush era. In the 6 months period, the time came out from 4.5 years to 6 months, 3 months in some of the cases, though. So yes, there need to be drastic action. I don't think so increasing the number, increasing the filing fees is not going to help, according to me. They need to decrease the bureaucracies. Look, they added an extra thing now. The entire forms of the medicals have changed on October 1st. And that's another extra burden for it. So these things, they keep on creating those things. So if they avoid creating these troubles, creating the hurdles for themselves, I think so they can focus more on, I mean, imagine if one bad guy who's not eligible to, maybe a criminal or a murderer guy or a murderer is applying for 485, they are getting the EAD without even checking their background. We don't want this murderer guy to have an EAD for a long period of time. He should be adjudicated. He should be denied. He should not be there. So these things, if they take these hurdles off, they can prevent the bad guys getting the EADs and good guys to get the green card faster. They need to listen to the common people who are suffering rather than going to the bureaucracy and telling that, yeah, you're going to give an extra social security card to my client. I don't need it. I want the green card, buddy.
All right. Arun from YouTube says he's been following us here as well as on TV Asia, which Raul does every Sunday, for more than a year, and he wants to inform us that him and his family received their green cards this week. So congratulations. We're so happy for you. Thank you for sharing, and thanks for joining us here every week.
And keep writing the letters. Just because you got benefit, the people who climbed up the ladder should not forget that there are more people who have yet to climb the ladder. Don't forget that. In between though, Emily, we have made some statements with regards to the medical interfiling because we're getting a lot of RFEs. Especially in the past 2 days though, we've received a lot of notices of informing the clients that your medical has not been received. There are a significant number of things that we have received. So if you have received any of those things, even though it doesn't say RFE, if I were you, you have an option of responding to it, or option of not responding to it. Guess what I will do? I will respond to it as soon as possible though, because that will make your application process more quickly, and then hopefully so, things will get better for you if you respond to as quickly as possible.
Santosh from Facebook wants to know, are there chances of USCIS considering the filing date chart for November visa bulletin, and what are our predictions for November EB2 filing charts? Well, all we have is 5 years worth of prior actions of using the filing date chart versus the final action date chart. Last year, yes, they did allow us to use that filing date chart in November. I'm a little hesitant to say that we should be able to use it this November based on some of the information that's come out in some of the pending litigation. And USCIS basically said there's enough pending applicants to already use up all of next year's green cards, and that they don't, Charlie has already come out and said he doesn't intend to move the EB3 dates at all for possibly the entire fiscal year because they already have enough applications on file. The only reason they allow people to use filing dates is when they need more applicants to be able to use up all of the green cards by the end of the year. So I don't know if we'll be able to use it in November. I definitely wouldn't want to miss that chance.
Dhruv has this question: will this registry be able to help the employment-based immigration as well? It definitely does not harm at all, Dhruv. If they allow people who have been present here in 2010 and 2011, though, it definitely will benefit some of the people who are already in the country and are waiting in the line, because just because they came in 2010 and 2011, it doesn't mean that they immediately file the green card application. They might have come in a student visa, they might come in H1B, they might have filed green card application at a later date. So yeah, definitely it is not going to be harmful. It is not going to be harmful for any of the employment. It may benefit a good number of people, but not a significant number of people though. I would say that especially in the employment base though, I would say it may benefit about 20% of the people, Emily. I'm just making this number up based on my knowledge with my family, friends, and other people that I know about. About 20% of the people might be able to benefit, assuming that they're going to move the registry dates to 2010, January 1st of 2010, from 1972 to January 1st of 2010.
Puneeth wants to know, is an NIE required if traveling with a stamped H1B and U.S. citizen kids to Europe? So as of now, if you have the stamp and you have U.S. citizen children, you're already predetermined that you're approved for an NIE, so you do not have to contact the consulate to get an approval or notification that you're qualified for the NIE. Make sure you carry birth certificates and proof of U.S. citizenship for the kids.
John is asking this question. Durban is all positive for us. Being a parliamentarian committee chairman, how can we request it getting closer to, being on the parliamentarian committee, how can we make sure that our provisions are included in the bill? Well, we can only request our senators when we are asking though. There are multiple ways that they can avoid the parliamentary committee. Parliamentarian just it's his parliamentarian Elizabeth McDowell recommends the things. Does the Senate have to follow it? No, they don't have to follow it. There's nothing there. Is the position of Elizabeth McDowell the parliamentarian? Is it there in the Constitution? No, it doesn't exist at all. It is created by Senate. According to me, the entire filibuster is not constitutional at all. There is no standing for us to challenge it. It is not constitutional at all. The position of Elizabeth McDowell is not constitutional according to me. They created, the Senate created it by themselves, though they can ignore her. If they ignore her, will that be any constitutional crisis? Absolutely not. They can ignore her, that's one thing, they can do it. They can add it as an amendment for the budget bill. They can do it. We'll see if there will be, why can't they put an amendment at the end stage, Emily? Who's there to object if the Senate wants to do it? Because it comes under budget, and they can ignore Elizabeth McDowell and just add it as an amendment. They can do a lot of different things, though, and believe me, this administration is trying to do. If I recall, though, when Obama got elected, it was in 2008, he wanted to pass the Obamacare bill, which we call it as Obamacare bill at that point of time. He was short of the things, and he required 60 votes. So initially he had 60 votes. Then what happened, the Massachusetts election happened, and the Democrat lost the 60 majority. They had only 59, but because of some technical way, they were able to get with the 59 votes, they were able to get the Obama bill out. This budget bill requires only 50 votes, plus of course the Vice President Kamala Harris, which they have it. So there is a possibility that there may be miracles that may happen at the end date when the bill passes in the Senate. As far as the House is concerned, though, we are very clear that House is going to pass. House is very clear. It's only the Senate that is troublesome for us right now.
Gautami wants to know, would my legal status change from H1 to EAD whenever my GCEAD gets approved? No, it does not. So simply because you filed the 485 and simply because you received an EAD does not automatically mean you lose your H1B status. You can have both at the same time.
Is there any way I can get sample NIE reference letters? There are samples available if you try to Google it. We don't want to put the sample ourselves on our website. The problem is everybody fills in the blanks and sends it. So we definitely don't want to do it ourselves, though. Does the registry includes only illegal immigration? Does it allow all the people who are present? Based on my reading of 1972, it should allow all the people who are present. There are some times where the amnesty was granted. I recall I was still a lawyer. I did some of those things. It was late amnesty that we call. When I started practicing immigration law in 1993, sometimes when we have to prove our clients illegal, there are some creative ways that we came up to prove our clients to be illegal rather than legal. But at this point of time, I'm expecting them to include both legal and illegal.
A couple of people have noticed that they maybe have withdrawn a pending I-539 application and then later received a biometrics notice to appear for that withdrawn application. I've seen that in a couple of my own applications for my clients recently. So in that situation, you need to assume that the withdrawal has not happened yet. Otherwise, you wouldn't have received that. So I highly recommend sending in the withdrawal again to ensure that the application is actually withdrawn, because we see time and again when even though you've sent in a withdrawal, they may not process it until after they've approved the application, and that can actually put you out of status potentially. So be very careful with how you do the withdrawal, when you do the withdrawal, make sure it's still the right time to do that. But if you've gotten a biometrics after withdrawal, you should withdraw again.
Rajan Patel has this question: can I do parallel 485 application for EB2 and EB3? Not advisable, because it's the same job. It's definitely not advisable. It's advisable to file two I-140s using the same job, but it's not advisable to file two 485 applications using the same job.
Advait wants to know, Canada travel on H1B when a 485, 131, and 765 are all pending. Is that okay? Well, if you have an H1B and you have the H1B stamp and then you have filed the 485, specifically for H and L non-immigrants, they do allow you to travel outside the U.S. while the 485 is pending without abandoning the 485, as long as you leave when you're in H1B status and come back into H1B status. However, if you're at 131, the advanced parole is still pending when you travel. Current policy is that they will deny that 131 application for abandonment due to the travel. So when you come back in, you'll have to refile that.
RK has this question: can we apply for H1B and H4 and EAD at the same time? Yes, you can. Absolutely, you should too apply H1B, H4 and EAD at the same time. Unfortunately, they are not adjudicating the H4 and H4 EAD at the same time when your H1B is approved. But I strongly advise people to file H4 and EAD along with H1B. There are some questions that come up, people where the companies are willing to file the H1B and H4 and they don't want to file the EAD. I may request you that if you have enough time on the H4 though, to try to not file the H4 and EAD separately though, because that takes a long time to get it adjudicated as compared to when you file H4 and H4 EAD together. I would advise people, let the company apply the H1B and you can apply yourself H4 and EAD when the H1B is pending or when the H1B is approved. There are also people that have that, oh, my company applied for my H1B and my spouse H4. I was waiting for the H4 to be approved to apply for the EAD. Not needed. You can apply the EAD while your H4 is still pending or L2 extension is still pending. You don't have to wait for the H4 to be approved to file for the EAD. I'm assuming that you guys are already eligible for the EAD.
Barendra says he's not working with a company, but that company is planning to file PERM, and he wants to know, when should he join that company? Well, keep in mind, the PERM, the I-140, and the 485 is all based on an offer of employment, not an actual employment. So technically, it is not required for you to join that company until you receive your green card. However, if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that the company's financials will support that, because when you get to the I-140 stage, the company has to be able to show that it has sufficient net income or net assets to cover your salary from the date your labor certification was filed. So if their tax returns or financial statements are not strong enough and you didn't join when your labor certification was filed, it can ultimately lead to your I-140 denial.
This question that comes up from Anshuman Das. My spouse was wanting to file H4 to cap exempt H1B. Can she file premium processing of I-129, I-539? Will they get processed together? This is a confusion some people have. When they try to Google and try to read in though, they say that when you want to apply for a change of status, you have to apply for I-539. It may as well be right in most of the instances though. But when you're wanting to change to the H1B from H4, or F1, or L2, or L1, or O1, or P1, or Q1, you do not need an I-539. Absolutely you don't. You just file only I-129 and you can apply for a change of status, and you can do so in premium processing.
Girish has a question, first time about H4 EAD. I-140 was recently approved and the current H1 is valid till July 2022. Do you recommend applying for the H4 EAD now or wait and apply along with the H1 extension around February 2022? Very good question, and it's it's a timing issue, because if you do file now, that EAD will only be valid till July 2022. So you're going to have to file it twice to be able to get that longer validity period. So for that reason, it depends really if you want to be able to start working sooner, because obviously if you delay until February, that's that much longer that you're going to have to wait before you can begin working, but at least you only have to file once to get that extended validity.
Riaz Ali has this question that he went out of status and is getting married to U.S. citizen. Does he need to apply? Can he get the waiver though? Mr. Riaz, actually, if a person who is entered United States on a valid visa, if the person goes out of status, they can file the 485 application, assuming that you do not leave the country though. If you are married to a U.S. citizen, you can file the 485 application. You don't even need to apply any waiver. Just because you're out of status will not cause any problem in you getting the green card.
Srinidhi wants to file her H4 and H4 EAD separately with an external attorney because the employer is not ready to file the EAD along with the H1 and H4 extension. Are there any risks if the H4 is not filed with the H1 extension? No risks at all. It's not mandatory to file together. You just have to make sure that the H4 is filed before the current H4 expires. It may be beneficial to get the H1 extension approved first if you have enough time, if it's being filed in premium processing, and then file your H4 and EAD extension separately.
Sham Gagoni has, I lost my job because of the GCEAD auto extension expired and I-485 is current. That's very odd. You may want to discuss about suing USCIS, Sham. If you're interested in, contact Stephen Brown in our office though. He is the litigation guy where he can go to court. You are definitely an ideal candidate though. As a side benefit though, as a compromise, they may even get you the 485 approved while you're fighting for the EAD. That's what I strongly recommend though.
Prakash wants to know, my wife is transferring from H4 EAD to H1B. Can she continue working after the H1B is filed but not yet approved if the H4 EAD validity has expired? No, she cannot. If the H4 EAD continued to be valid, she could, but until that H1B is actually approved and changes her status to H1B, if she does not have an EAD that's valid, she cannot work.
Will the Democrats find a solution for the benefit of employment-based backlog, though? The problem is that the Democrats want everything in one package, though. They want the undocumented aliens, they want the DACA kids, they want all the people in one package, though. The Republicans want to segregate each of those things separately, though. But sometimes these people are better, sometimes they are better. As of we are concerned though, I mean, if we want to get something, we can't take the sides. I mean, anybody who will give it, we will salute them. And that's what I would recommend. So if your senator happens to be a Democrat, write it. If your senator happens to be a Republican, write to them. That's the best thing that I would suggest you to do.
Anshuman wants to know, my spouse wants to move from H4 to a cap-exempt H1B. Can the employer do premium processing for both the I-129 and I-539, and will they be processed together? Unfortunately, still the policy is they only premium process the H1B, so even if you file them together and do the premium processing, the H1B will be approved, but the H4 will continue to be pending under the regular processing times, and we don't yet have premium processing implemented for the H4.
Questions about Texas Service Center backlog with regards to the I-485 RFE responded in July, August. Tin ban. Well, welcome to the gang of waiting forever with the Texas Service Center. We are contemplating bringing on lawsuit against Texas Service Center. We'll update you guys once we get any positive responses from the court or from the Texas. At this point of time, we're not going with the broader filing thousands of cases, but we're trying with some of the experiments, especially in the delays of what's happening with the Texas Service Center. because they are the worst of all. I mean, how can the MSc gets the approval and Emily's application is MSc, she gets a green card approval, I'm in Texas, and I don't have a choice to pick where my things go. So this is very bad, and Texas Service Center really, really backlogged.
Irfan wants to know, for the medical interfile, he's hearing that the Nebraska Service Center is not accepting it, but other service centers are. Is it okay to send my medicals to both places? I'm assuming things are all centralized and uploaded from anywhere. You assume wrong. USCIS is not that efficient. That would be great if they did centralize things and actually have things uploaded, but it's all paper-based. So if you send your medical to a service center where your file is not at, it will do you absolutely no good. They need to have the actual physical medical, make it into your actual physical file at the service center where the case is pending.
Question with regards to the GCEAD extension. When should I file the GCEAD? You're allowed to file the GCEAD within the period of 180 days, though, not before that. So somewhere about 175th day, I would file the GCEAD extension, though. Luckily, from now onwards, though, thanks to the Biden administration, which is far better, though, in general, when you're speaking about the previous administration. Not that it has, to my satisfaction level, it has done the good work, but overall it's better. I would suggest that you file 175 days before the EAD expires, and you are going to get the extension for 2 years now. It is mandatory that they should give 2 years, unlike before.
Ravi wants to know if he was selected in the second H1B lottery and gets that filed to get the change of status in premium while the H4 extension is already pending. What happens if the H4 gets approved after the H1 gets approved? We do see this happen every year, and so our best recommendation would be to travel, use automatic revalidation to re-enter from Canada or Mexico within 30 days on the actual visa category that you want to be in. That's the only way to guarantee you're in one status or the other.
Emily, I have a very good question from MURAIPK. I want your attention on it. He's asking the question, I-140 downgrade is not approved. If the EB3 retrogresses, will the child get still locked or not? The answer is no. For the child age to be locked, there are a couple of things. The final action date has to be current, and the I-140 has to be approved. Since I-140 is not approved, you are losing it. You are an ideal candidate. If your premium processing is not accepted, I would recommend that you contact a litigation lawyer. In our office, it is going to be Stephen Brown. You need to litigate your case, because if the I-140 is not approved, you are really getting damaged here. You're a very ideal candidate to sue the USCIS, especially the Texas Service Center. Any other questions, Amber?
I think we are about out of time for today. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we'll be back next week with more updates. And please make sure to reach out to your senators right now with your support for including employment-based immigration reforms in the reconciliation or in any reform bills at this point. One way or another, we need to get these fixes passed.
Thank you very much.